When I go to the gym, I see this a lot. Folks will do their cardio first. They'll hop on that treadmill, the bike, the elliptical, the stair climber, and then go into the weight room afterwards to try and lift weights. This is actually backwards. You want to lift weights before doing your cardiovascular activity. So in this video, I will explain why this is so important. It may be helpful to think of our bodies like machines. Take a car, for example. Most cars still use gasoline as its major source of fuel. The gasoline helps it run. Our bodies are built more like hybrid cars. Hybrid cars use two sources of energy: gasoline and electricity. Our bodies are actually built more intelligently. We have three sources of energy, or three fuel tanks, that we can use. We have our stored carbohydrate tank, so anytime you eat breads, rice, cereals, pastas, our bodies can take those foods and store them as fuel for later. We have a second fuel tank, which would be our protein or our muscle cells, and we have a seemingly endless supply of energy from our fat cells. So notice, each of these fuel tanks is filled to the brim with color. The color just represents how full or empty these fuel sources are. For most of us, before we head to the gym, our fuel tanks will be pretty full, provided we're following an otherwise balanced diet. Now let's take the example of an individual who decides to follow my advice and goes into the weight room before doing their cardiovascular activity. Anytime we perform short bursts of high-intensity activity like weightlifting, we find that the body prefers to use only one fuel tank over the others. It prefers to use the stored carbohydrate tank. So after 20 or 30 minutes of weightlifting, we'll find that this tank is basically depleted. The other tanks will remain mostly full. So now the person, after finishing their weightlifting, jumps on the bike. The body again will be forced to look for a source of energy. Because one tank is already depleted or running on empty, the body will actually turn next to burning fat. The body's not going to want to burn protein or use up its muscle cells as energy because we're using those cells to pedal the bike. So instead, the body will actually burn more fat as fuel. So by lifting weights first and then doing cardio after, you actually end up burning more fat during that workout, and you end up burning it a lot more quickly. For more helpful tips like these, be sure to visit my website, www.superherolike.com.